Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Today, we're answering a question from one of our viewers, Bernard Brennan. Thanks for the great suggestion. You asked, what's the history of poker chips? Whether you've watched a poker tournament on TV, visited a casino, or simply played a friendly game with friends, you've probably handled or at least seen poker chips. They're such a familiar part of the game that most people never stop to wonder where they came from. But there was a time when poker chips didn't exist at all and players had to rely on a surprisingly wide variety of objects to place their bets. So how did these colorful discs become the standard currency of the poker table? And what problem were they originally designed to solve? Stick around as we uncover the fascinating history of poker chips, right here on History of Simple Things. Long before poker became popular, gambling existed in civilizations stretching back thousands of years. Ancient Romans, Chinese gamblers, and European card players all wagered valuables, but there was no standardized token for betting. Players often used actual coins, gold pieces, jewelry, carved bones, seashells, buttons, or whatever objects everyone at the table agreed had value. This system worked reasonably well in small groups where everyone trusted each other, but it quickly became confusing as bets increased or valuables differed in worth. During the 18th and early 19th centuries, gambling halls in Europe and the United States became increasingly popular, exposing the shortcomings of using random items. Every game required players to negotiate values before they could even begin, making disputes almost inevitable. Poker itself developed in the United States during the early 1800s, particularly along the Mississippi River, where riverboats became famous for hosting card games. As poker spread westward during America's frontier expansion, saloons and gambling houses appeared almost everywhere. The game's growing popularity attracted both casual players and professional gamblers, but it also magnified an old problem. Using cash directly on the table slowed games, while carrying large amounts of coins was inconvenient and sometimes dangerous. Players also worried about theft or arguments over exact amounts. Gambling establishments needed a faster, simpler, and more organized way to keep games moving while ensuring every wager was clearly understood. The solution emerged during the mid-19th century when gambling houses began issuing their own standardized betting tokens. Early poker chips weren't made from a single material. Depending on the establishment, they could be crafted from ivory, bone, wood, clay, mother-of-pearl, or even compressed paper. Because each gambling house produced its own chips, designs varied dramatically in color, shape, and markings. Some even included intricate artwork or the establishment's name to discourage players from bringing counterfeit pieces from elsewhere. While these early chips looked very different from modern casino chips, they solved an important problem by replacing assorted valuables with standardized units whose values everyone recognized instantly. Although many materials were tested, clay-based chips gradually became the preferred choice by the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Pure clay chips were actually rare. Most contained clay mixed with other materials to improve durability while preserving the distinctive feel players enjoyed. They were easier to stack, harder to slip, and produced the familiar clicking sound that many people now associate with casinos. More importantly, manufacturers could press detailed designs directly into the chips, making them much more difficult to duplicate than simple wooden or bone tokens. As commercial chip manufacturers expanded, casinos could order customized sets featuring unique colors, denominations, and identifying patterns, creating an additional layer of security against fraud. As legalized gambling expanded during the 20th century, poker chips became increasingly sophisticated because casinos faced a constant threat from counterfeiters. Manufacturers responded by embedding unique edge spots, custom molds, serial numbers, ultraviolet markings, and eventually RFID technology into higher-value chips. These features allowed casino staff to identify authentic chips almost instantly, while making successful counterfeiting extraordinarily difficult. Casinos also established strict rules about where chips could be redeemed, preventing players from exchanging chips issued by one casino at another. Modern chips therefore function less like simple tokens and more like secure financial instruments specifically designed for controlled gaming environments where accuracy and accountability are essential. Today, poker chips represent much more than money on a gaming table. Professional poker tournaments use standardized tournament chips that hold no cash value outside the event, allowing organizers to manage competitions fairly without players handling real currency during play. Home games around the world also rely on poker chips because they simplify betting and create a more immersive experience, even when no money is involved. Meanwhile, collectors actively seek vintage casino chips because each one reflects a unique piece of gambling history, from famous casinos that no longer exist to historic riverboats and frontier saloons. What began as a practical solution has evolved into a recognizable symbol of poker itself. The history of poker chips isn't really about colorful pieces of clay or plastic. It's about solving a problem that emerged as gambling became larger, faster, and more organized. Before standardized chips existed, players depended on coins and personal valuables, creating confusion and frequent disagreements. Dedicated betting tokens brought consistency, speed, and security to the table, eventually becoming more advanced as casinos worked to stay ahead of counterfeiters. Today, every chip carries a denomination, a carefully designed identity, and a tradition that stretches back more than a century. So the next time you see a stack of poker chips sliding across a green felt table, you'll know they represent far more than a wager. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.